Yeah, he is.
Back there, been sick.
That's the
Where I
time.
need to go down there and shake her hand, hug her or not.
I lost might have a little soft spot down.
Yeah, it's true. Need a magnifying glass.
Going bit and we
I
got
thought it was just me.
Sharon told me.
9:30,
Yeah.
recess
See, when we
meeting.
leave here, we're going down to the training room where we met with the school board,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna recess and then meet with Steve King.
Okay.
But, if the majority
From a guy in Wilson. I told Steve, it's from his friend.
I guess,
But that
Yes,
George,
I would think all those
yeah,
ought to
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Wish I could.
But the reason we put recess instead of
I
adjournment,
have not much comment on
we
it.
didn't
I had something
exclude
I'd
any
like to say,
commission
but I don't do
might
that.
wanna go.
Mm-hmm.
y'all hear me grunting, don't think nothing about it.
Well, let's see. Call the recess meeting to order, and we have our invocation and pledge to the American flag. Let us all stand, please.
Our Father, today is the day you have made, and God help us to rejoice. Be with us as we go through this meeting, God, and be with us. Each family is represented, God, and may we just do your will. Also, God, we just may remember that we represent all the people in Nash County and not a certain group. In your precious name, amen.
Man.
Face the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated.
Mary's still sick.
Make me begin there now.
Okay, we are now at point of a presentation of final debt refinancing bid, and we'll call on Ted Cole from the Davenport Group to make the presentation.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
I don't know if this made it
It did,
to everybody?
it did.
Okay, great. Working off a revised memo that's dated November 19th. And as y'all recall, the last time we were here, we had talked about the original bids that had been received for the refinancing, and that Southern had presented some additional, an additional proposal. So what we decided to do was to go back out to everybody that received the RFP originally, about 25 different banks. And at the bottom of page 1, what you'll see is what came back from that rebid, if you will. The same 8 banks submitted proposals, and we've put to the right of each of their names whether they revised their proposal or held their original proposal. So BB&T, no change. They resubmitted their same proposal. Capital One revised it slightly. First Tennessee held the original. PNC held the original. That does include the tie-in or the link between banking services and the refunding. If you remember, that was part of PNC's proposal. They have maintained exactly the same language. Providence, no change. Regions, no change. Southern Bank did present a revised proposal, and SunTrust a slightly revised proposal. So, like last time, we have focused on basically 3 key proposals. And if you turn to page 2, this gets to the summary level in table 1. And if you remember, one of the options that we were considering, there were 4 options, and the difference in the 4 is the final maturity of the bonds. We're looking to shorten this debt. That was the original discussion. The debt currently goes out to 2024. So option B2, which would shorten it up to December of 2021, you can see Southern Bank is at a 142, PNC a 155, and First Tennessee a 175. And as you go across those other options, A2, B1, and A1, all of which have different final maturities, across the board, Southern Bank has the lowest rates for each one of those options. prepayment provisions, your ability to prepay the loan in the future or refinance it. Southern Bank, as they did last time, gave sort of the most flexibility. You can prepay it in whole or in part at any time without a penalty, so there's really no limitation going forward, which is always the preference, whereas PNC and First Tennessee have what's called a make-whole call that essentially limits your ability or eliminates your ability to refinance for savings in the future. So Southern Bank, lowest rates at this point for all options, and the greatest flexibility on the prepayment language. Get into page 3, we've identified, or excuse me, we've analyzed 2 of the options that we think are the most applicable in talking with staff. In the table 3, at the top of page 3, this is that option B2, where we shorten the loan from 2024, that's the current final maturity of your debt, we shorten it to 2021. And what you'll see for Southern Bank and Trust, SB&T, is that we've essentially solved such that your annual payments today are basically within about $500 of where they would be if you did nothing. And you get all of your savings on the back end, beginning in about 2022 through 2024. Total savings over that term, $593,000. That is net of all cost of issuance, which is footnoted there at $100,000. So the $593 is net savings in the aggregate over these remaining years. If you do the math calculation to present value that back to today's dollars, it's a calculation, it's about $496,000 in today's dollars, or a little over 11% of the debt you're refunding. And then you can see what the PNC is on the same basis, $576,000 in gross savings on a present value basis, $473,000, and then First Tennessee. So as it relates to this option B2, and the purpose of that, or the idea behind B2 was to shorten it as much as we could, not increase our annual payments above where they are today, and take the savings on the back end. Southern Bank and Trust has the greatest savings.
Question.
Yes, sir.
In table 3, at the bottom, it says, this is preliminary and subject to change, up or down?
Really a very small change, if at all, and it would have to do with what the closing date is. The rate from Southern Bank and Trust is fixed. They're not going to change the rate, and that's fixed through a closing that works for us. I believe it goes through
18th.
December 18th. Thank you. So if there were to be a change, it would be a very small change tied really only to whether we close one day or the next. And then obviously if we move forward today with one of these banks, we'll want the bank to sign off on the new numbers. I don't expect any problem there, but that's the other reason why we would say it was preliminary and subject to change. In talking with staff, at the bottom of page 3 on table 4, we also ran the option A1 scenario, which is where we shorten the debt, but we only shorten it by about a year from today's final maturity. So we're shortening it up by 1 year, and we're taking the savings and a little bit more levelized over time. And so what you'll see under Southern Bank and Trust is in fiscal 15, which is the year we're in, there's about $17,000 of savings, and then it's level at about $31,000 a year, and then you get that bigger savings on the final by the shortening of 1 year at $262,000. When you push all of those savings together, it's about $535,000 or 11%. So just 2 different approaches to this same refunding. The rates are just slightly different. The rate from Southern on the B2 option is a 142 versus a 148 for the A1 option. So they're very close to one another. And I think the decision comes to, what has its most appeal to you all from a budgetary basis or a cash flow basis? Would you prefer to shorten it as much as you can, not increase the annual payments. That's essentially what Table 3 is, or option B2. Shortening it, but shortening it a little less, and getting more savings on a year-by-year basis would be option A1 and Table 4. You've got complete latitude to make a decision about what might have the most appeal to you. Given our prior meeting and conversation, I think it was B2, but we didn't want to presume that. We wanted to present this other option to you. So on page 4, pretty straightforward based on the new bids received, and it was a very, I think, a very well-received process where we went back out and sent the RFP out and talked to the folks about why we were doing it. Everybody, again, showed up again on the 8 different bidders. We do have a recommendation that you move forward with Southern Bank and Trust. They have the lowest rate for every option that's on the table. They have the greatest prepayment flexibility. As to whether you choose that B2 or A1 option, I think either, you can't go wrong either way. It really comes down to your cash flows, what has the most appeal to you. But either way, it would be Southern Bank is our recommendation. And if that were to be your desire, then you've already held the public hearing. There is some actions to be taken today where you would award the loan to the winning bidder. There's a resolution that you all would adopt or consider adopting. We would let the winning bidder know. We would work on the documentation. And at your December 1st meeting, there would be a final action taken on the documents, essentially. LGC would consider this for approval on December 2nd, and we're in good shape with the Local Government Commission right now. They're aware of the refunding. They're aware of our process. Everything is falling in line. And then we would be able to close on or about the 18th, and that's when everything is finally put to bed.
Okay.
Questions?
Yeah, I have another one. I think you said one of the other plans here, can't we also shorten the note and increase the payment, do both of those at the same time? I thought I heard you say do one or the other. Am I right?
One more time on the question, can we shorten the term?
Right.
And
increase the payment to hurry up and get it over with.
Well, if I may, Mr. Chairman, what we asked them to do was to shorten it as much as possible without increasing the current payments. So if we're paying, say, $700 a year, we wanted to keep it no more than $700 a year, but shorten the payment, the length of the loan, because we were getting a lower interest rate. We could shorten it to 5 years.
That, but I was saying, can't we do a combination?
We are. I mean, go ahead.
you could choose to pay it back more quickly, which would increase the payment above where it is today.
Yeah.
If that were your desire. We've not run that case, but I don't think there's any reason why the banks wouldn't be willing to take a more rapid repayment. Whether or not you can shorten it by another year, I guess the question becomes, what's your appetite? How much of a higher payment would you be willing to accept every year? That would be part of that analysis.
That's something that we would have to consider.
Right.
Yeah, I understand that.
Mr. Chairman, the second option that we have actually gives us a little relief during the next 7 or 8 years. We'll be paying less. It will still be cutting it shorter by a year, I think. But we, instead of, say, $700 a year, we will be paying $670, and I'm just throwing those numbers out there. So the two options that we have is basically keep the current payments as they are, shorten the term because we're getting a lower interest rate and saving almost $600,000. The original estimate was around $400 and some thousand, 2.35% interest rate, and we've been very fortunate time-wise, that we're down to a 1.42%. If you were to go, instead of 8 years, go to 7 years or 6 years, theoretically, you would get even a lower interest rate. But we really recommend that we go forward with one of these two options. I asked Mr. Cole to give us the numbers for the A1, Table 4, just to show the board. You know, if this was me personally and it was 6 basis points difference, I would probably go out further, but we're a government, and if we want to save as much money, even if it is on the back end, you may want to go with option B2, where you save almost $600,000 versus the $535. But either option, I think we should go forward today and close this on the 18th of December.
My thoughts, Mr. Chairman, if I may, and of course, I look at it from a business model rather than from a government model, but if this was strictly a business decision, not a personal decision, any business that didn't have cash flow issues would take Table 3 or option B2 because of the total savings, and you're down to a 1.42% interest rate anyway. Of course, a business doesn't get that opportunity. I've never seen it, but that would be what I think we should do, is maximize on the total amount of money spent, which is basically $600,000.
And that savings will be realized at the back end.
Right.
But not actually cash money, but you realize that you didn't pay as much interest.
You'll save a lot of money in 22,
interest.
23, and 24, whereas right now, under the current loan, we would be paying maybe $600,000 or $700,000 a year. In those 3 years, we will be paying much less. In fact, in 23 and 24, we won't be paying anything, whereas under the current loan, we would be paying. So in those 2 years, we will have we'll have some money freed up compared to what we would be if we don't refinance.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, you've heard the recommendations for option B2. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Outlaw,
Second.
second by Commissioner Morgan. You've heard the motion. Any further question or discussion? All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposes, same sign. Aye, unanimous.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I want to thank the board for helping us with this process. This is really a remarkable savings, given we're talking about $4.4 million. And to get a rate at 1.42, it's the lowest I've ever seen in government finance. You might have seen lower, but it's the lowest I've ever experienced. And to be able to work this process where we thought we were going to be over 2% and ended up at 1.42, thought we were going to save less than $500,000 and end up saving almost $600,000. I just want to thank Mr. Cole and his people for helping us through this process. It's been very beneficial to the county and will save the county over the life of the original loan quite a bit of money. Thank you.
And we get to use a local bank.
Right.
1.42 is a good interest rate in one time. Who you get it from?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Good job.
Good interest rates. I agree with you on that, Commissioner Morgan. Yeah, but when we can go local, it's fine. That we,
So option B2, Southern Bank.
okay.
Right.
And then there's another resolution, too, that needs to be adopted.
Yeah, there's two resolutions.
The first one was the winning, and I'm assuming that's the first one you adopted, was to award the winning bidder,
Yeah.
Southern Bank B2, sorry. And then this one would be a resolution to adopt the findings and determinations regarding the proposed financing.
Let's see. Do I have a copy of that?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
attached to the agenda.
It's attached to this, to the agenda.
Oh, okay, all right,
It's, you just approved the first one, that's the second one.
yeah, all right. Do y'all want to take time to read it, or you're satisfied with it? If so, I'll call for a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Somebody get a mo-
Who offered?
Well, you said you offer a
No.
motion. Maybe you meant you'll take a motion.
Did I say offer? I meant to take a motion.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
If I said that, I didn't mean it. Okay, motion by Commissioner Outlaw, second by Commissioner Davis. All in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposes the same sign. Ayes unanimous. All right.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask Mr. Cole one more question, because of something I just said begs a question. What is the lowest rate you've ever
Well,
been
it
involved?
depends. I mean,
Now.
we've done very short loans for people for a year.
Okay.
And so you can get
7 to
under-
8 years, 7 to 8 year loan.
I think a 142's got to be very close.
Okay. So I thought.
It was, in all seriousness, 8 different bidders. I think this got a lot of attention, a lot of banks that cared an awful lot about it, which I think is a testament to the way the county's been managed and financial position. So I think it was a very good process, so.
Could we get a brief explanation, Mr. Chairman, if it's okay? I'm just curious as what falls into the $100,000 issuance cost?
Sure.
I mean, that's a large sum of money, but
Right.
what does that cover?
That it covers fees associated with our work as the advisor, your bond attorneys, which is Womble Carlisle in Raleigh. There's an attorney that will be representing the bank. Ward Smith is the firm that represents Southern Bank. They have a fee associated that's included in there. A small application fee for the local government commission.
I believe the proposal said no more than $7,500 for Southern's attorney fees.
Yeah, I mean, it was identified and capped, but all of those professional fees, I guess essentially, your advisor, which again is Davenport, bond counsel, the bank's counsel, that's pretty typical that if a bank has their own representative, legal representation, that would be rolled into the transaction. And then, as I said, a small application fee for the local government commission.
Yeah, but all these loans capped when you transitioning from one to another. Isn't there a cap on the amount, the fee that can be charged?
I think I can speak for myself. I know we went through a process with staff to cap that fee. Yes, sir. And I'm not sure that there's a legal cap necessarily, but I
On
think
some loans, there are.
it may be.
Thank you, Mr. Cole.
And we don't anticipate it'll be 100,000. It should be less than that,
There's
but
also a title insurance premium.
Title
$5
insurance.
million loan and some other recording
Thank you.
fees.
Yes, some other real estate related items.
right. Now, your firm's fees will not be rolled into the loan.
Nobody's inquired, but
Will it be?
it will not be large.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I knew that. I knew that.
Okay.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
All right.
One more thing to do.
Oh, the next thing on the agenda is to recess the meeting and go down to the EMS training room. And I would think, I believe all commissioners will want to go to attend this, right? Okay. Then, I'm gonna recess so we can go down to the EMS training room.
If, just for the record, if we could, Mr. King's last name is K-E-E-N. And we've got it spelled a little
Sorry.
differently. If we could just, that's okay.
That's my mistake. I thought I was hearing King.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well, King.
I think, quite a few people,
Like that.
spell it care, because I remember he was active in the county commission
Yeah.
association, they had care.
Did it really?
Okay, the meeting's recessed.
I want 'em in here.
Okay. Will I get them ahead of time? 'Cause they're looking at it. Too late.
Just in time to go downstairs.